Patrick woke up to a pale light seeping through the curtains, thin beams slicing across the room like quiet intruders. Evelyn was still asleep beside him, her face calm, her breathing steady. That was strange. They always woke up together. He frowned, rubbing his eyes, and glanced at the clock. 7:30 a.m. That wasn't right. They always woke up at exactly 9 o'clock. Every day. Every single person in the city did. Nobody questioned it. Nobody ever could. He sat up slowly, his heartbeat rising. For a moment, he thought maybe the clock was broken, but no, the second hand was ticking perfectly. Patrick slipped quietly out of bed, careful not to wake Evelyn. He moved to the window and pulled back the curtains. The city outside was still. No cars. No movement. No sound. Just perfect, empty streets glimmering faintly under a pale sun that somehow felt artificial. He dressed quickly, his hands shaking. Then he sat down on the chair by the window, trying to think, trying to remember, but his thoughts were like smoke, slipping through his fingers. 2 hours later, Evelyn stirred. She blinked, saw him still sitting there, fully dressed. "Patrick? What are you doing?" "I woke up early," he said, his voice sounding foreign to his own ears. "Early?" She smiled faintly. "That sounds strange." It did sound strange, like saying a word that no longer had meaning. Patrick forced a smile. "Yeah, I guess it does." Evelyn got out of bed, humming softly as she dressed. "It's time for breakfast," she said. "Come on, we mustn't be late." He hesitated. Late for what? He wanted to ask. But he didn't. He just nodded. Yes, breakfast." He stood up, then paused. "I'm not really hungry today." "You go ahead, I'll join you later." Evelyn stopped at the door. "Not hungry? Are you feeling sick?" "I'll call the doctor." "No." He stepped toward her, his tone sharper than he meant. "Please, don't call the doctor." Her brow furrowed. "Patrick." He lowered his voice. "I didn't eat yesterday. Or the day before. And I feel different." Evelyn froze. "Of course you feel different. You're sick," she said firmly, reaching for the phone. "Evelyn, stop. Please." He looked at her, desperate. "Don't you see? I wanted to feel hungry. I wanted to remember what hunger felt like." She stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "Why would anyone want that?" "That's just it," Patrick whispered. "Nobody wants to feel anything. Not hunger, not sadness, not fear. And I think there's something in the food. Something that stops us from remembering." Her face turned pale, then red. "You're crazy," she said, almost a whisper. "Am I?" he asked softly. "Then tell me, Evelyn, why can't we remember anything? What is this place?" "It's our home," she said quickly. "When did we come here?" I don't know." "Patrick, does it matter?" "It matters." His voice cracked. "Why can't we remember coming here? Why can't we remember before?" Evelyn's lips trembled. "Don't worry about it. We're going to be busy today. First baking class, you're making cheesecake, then boating, then lunch by the sea, tennis in the evening, dinner, she smiled mechanically. I'll make lamb roast. Then a movie in the lounge before bed. A full, happy day. At 9 o'clock, he said quietly. Well, yes, she replied. That's bedtime. We need 12 hours of sleep every night. Everyone knows that. Patrick stared at her. How long have we been here? I don't know. We called this place home. But we used to call it a hotel, didn't we? She looked confused. Maybe. Does it matter? Yes, Evelyn, it does. Her expression softened. Maybe you didn't wake up, Patrick. Maybe you're just dreaming. But I did wake up, he said. You saw me sitting there. I don't remember, she murmured. Then she smiled, too brightly. Come on. It's such a beautiful day. Let's go have breakfast. She opened the door. Patrick watched her for a long moment. You've already forgotten our conversation, haven't you? He said quietly. She smiled again, unbothered. Forgotten what? Evelyn always seemed happy with breakfast, lunch, dinner. Everyone did. Patrick watched them that morning as they laughed over their plates, the same plates they'd eaten from every day. Soup and salad for lunch. Rice and beans for dinner. Sometimes meat, sometimes fish. Always the same portions. Always enough to never feel hungry. And that was the strange part. No one ever felt hungry. He stirred the spoon in his peanut butter and took a sip from his energy drink, pretending to eat while his mind raced. Across the glass windows, the swimming pool shimmered in the sunlight. On the far side were families with children, running, splashing, laughing. But then a thought struck him like a cold hand around his heart. Those children, they've been the same age for years. He froze. The youngest, he remembered, had been 9 or 10 for as long as he could recall. No babies. No toddlers. No crying infants. No one had been born here in a decade. He set his spoon down slowly. His mind fought to push through the fog that always clouded his thoughts, but this time he forced himself to keep thinking. So, we've been here at least 9 or 10 years. The realization hit him like a pulse of electricity. He looked around, quick, nervous, but nobody was watching. Everyone kept smiling, chewing, chatting about tennis and baking and swimming lessons. Patrick got up quietly, carried his plate to a corner table, and pretended to look for napkins. Then, with a sudden motion, he dumped the food and drink into the trash. His heart thudded in his chest. No one saw him. He straightened, wiped his hands, and walked back toward Evelyn's table when he froze again. Robert was sitting just a few tables away, laughing over toast. But Robert was supposed to be in the hospital. He'd cut his leg badly. Patrick remembered the blood, the glass, the sound of the helicopter blades. Patrick approached him slowly. Good morning, Robert. Robert smiled up at him. Morning, Patrick. Lovely day, isn't it? How's your leg? Is it better? My leg? Robert blinked. There's nothing wrong with my leg. Patrick frowned. Don't you remember? You cut it near the tennis court. I was with you. You fell on the glass. They took you to the hospital. You left in a helicopter. Robert stopped chewing. For a moment, confusion flickered in his eyes. Then he laughed nervously. I've never been to a hospital in my life, Patrick. And I've never been in a helicopter. Are you joking? Patrick's eyes dropped. Robert's jeans were yellow, level 12. And there it was, a faint red scar running down his leg. Patrick looked up, meeting Robert's forced smile. Patrick, are you all right? It was Tom, standing right behind him. Patrick turned. Tom, you remember, don't you? Robert cut his leg. You carried him to the helicopter yourself. Tom's expression didn't change. Patrick, can you come to my office after breakfast? We need to talk. Patrick's stomach twisted. No, he said quickly. I can't. I'm busy. Busy? Tom asked, frowning. Patrick didn't answer. He turned and walked straight out of the restaurant, his pulse hammering in his ears. The corridor outside felt too quiet. He pressed the elevator button. The doors opened immediately. As he stepped in, he heard Tom calling after him, his voice echoing down the hall. Patrick jabbed the close button. The doors slid shut just as Tom came into view, running. Patrick stared at the glowing panel of buttons, 30 levels. He hesitated for a second, then pressed 30. The elevator began to rise. When the doors opened, a cold hush greeted him. The hallways on level 30 were different, wider, quieter, lined with perfect white walls and heavy silver doors. No laughter here. No sound of music or chatter. Then he heard it, a faint ding behind him. Another elevator was opening. Tom stepped out. Patrick, what are you doing here? Tom said, his voice calm but tight. This is level 30. You shouldn't be here. Patrick turned slowly. Why not? And why are you following me? I need to speak with you, Tom said. His eyes darted to the wall beside the elevator. Patrick followed his gaze and saw a small white button recessed into the metal, almost hidden. Tom moved toward it. Patrick stepped in front of him. No, Tom. We'll talk. But not there. Tom hesitated. We can go to my office. Patrick looked at him carefully. Tom was taller, stronger, a man built for control. Patrick's mind raced. No one ever tries to win here, he thought suddenly. In sports, in life, everyone just cooperates. No one pushes. No one resists. But Patrick remembered yesterday's tennis match. He tried to win, really tried. And Tom had looked at him as if he'd broken a rule he didn't even know existed. Patrick smiled faintly. All right, he said. Let's go to your office. I mustn't be late for baking class. I'm making cheesecake today. He stepped back into the elevator. Tom followed, reaching to press level 1. And that's when Patrick moved. With a sudden surge of anger and fear, he struck Tom hard across the back of the head. Tom fell to the floor, limp. Patrick stood there, chest heaving, staring down at the unconscious man. His reflection in the metal doors looked pale and foreign, like a stranger waking up from a dream. The elevator hummed quietly around him. He reached for the controls. Tom hit the floor hard. Patrick stared down at him, heart racing. He hadn't meant to do it, he just reacted. But one hit, and Tom was out cold. He knelt beside him, shaking. How did I know how to do that? There had never been a fight in Terra Vista City. Nobody ever got angry. Nobody ever had to. He pressed his hand to his mouth. What's happening to me? He whispered. The elevator hummed quietly. He looked at the glowing buttons and pressed level 5. At this hour, no one would be there. When the doors opened, he stepped out into an empty corridor. The silence felt heavy. Far away, he could hear soft music playing, that same cheerful melody that echoed through every level of Terra Vista. He walked quickly toward the end of the hallway and found a narrow stairwell. He climbed fast, 2 steps at a time, until he reached a small metal door. He pushed it open. It wasn't locked. Light flooded in. Patrick stepped out and froze. He was on the roof. The wind hit his face like a breath of something real. The sky stretched above him, wide and open. And there, in the center of the rooftop, sat a massive helicopter. A Bell 214. He knew it instantly. 18 seats. 2 engines. But then he stopped. How did I know that? The knowledge came automatically, too easily. He closed his eyes and saw flashes, sparks, machines, metal frames. He'd worked on them. He used to build helicopters. He used to work. His eyes opened again. When? He murmured. Where? Why did I stop? Why had he come to Terra Vista City? He walked across the roof slowly, the wind tugging at his shirt. From up here, the city stretched below him, perfect and still. But far beyond it, past the hills and valleys, he saw something strange, another city. Another Terra Vista. A twin. Exactly the same. He turned toward a second rooftop door on the far side. A sign above it read, Salida. Spanish. Exit. He frowned. When did I learn Spanish? He didn't know. He didn't remember learning anything. He ran toward the helicopter. The side door was open. Inside, there were stacks of boxes, empty ones. He climbed in, crouching behind them. The words on the boxes were printed in English, German, and Spanish. He heard voices approaching, men talking. Well, that's it. We've delivered everything to the German and Italian sections. We can handle the French and English sections this afternoon. Patrick's blood turned cold. Sections? He stayed hidden. The helicopter lifted off. The noise was deafening. Patrick gripped the metal floor as they rose into the air. He risked a glance out the window, the endless pattern of valleys below, each one identical, each one filled with perfect cities just like Terra Vista. For half an hour, they flew. The air grew hazier, the green valleys turning into gray fields. Then, smoke. Factories. A real town. The helicopter began to descend. Patrick ducked behind the boxes again. When it landed, he heard footsteps. Voices. Then, the door opened. Men climbed in to unload the boxes. Patrick stood up. "Hello," he said carefully. They froze, staring at him. No one spoke. Then another man appeared, calm, middle-aged, wearing a jacket with oil stains on the sleeves. "It's all right," he told the others. "It's just another one from the valleys." He stepped forward. "Why did you come here?" Patrick hesitated. I don't know. I started to remember things. I wanted to remember more." The man nodded. "You came from Terra Vista City, didn't you?" "Yes." "I see." He studied Patrick for a moment. "Come with me. My name's Jack." Patrick followed him out of the helicopter. They were in a small airport. He could see 8 helicopters, 4 planes, and a dozen trucks. Men in coveralls were moving boxes everywhere, all marked with those same languages. Every helicopter was a Bell 214. Jack led him into a squat, low building that smelled of fuel and coffee. Inside, the office was messy, papers, maps, and tools scattered across the desk. Patrick stopped, stunned. In Terra Vista, everything was perfect, spotless, controlled, color-coded. This room was real. "Sit down," Jack said. "You want something to drink? Tea? Coffee?" Patrick shook his head. Jack smiled faintly. "Don't worry. There's nothing in it." Patrick blinked. "How do you know what I'm thinking?" "I've seen it before," Jack said. "You're hungry and thirsty, aren't you?" Patrick's throat tightened. "Yes, how did you know that?" "They always are. That's why they come here." Patrick stared at him. "Who's they?" Jack leaned back in his chair. "The people from Terra Vista." Patrick's voice dropped. "Terra Vista City isn't a prison, is it?" Jack shook his head. "No. Not a prison. The pilots knew you were on that helicopter. We knew because of the extra weight. But we didn't bring you back." "Why not?" "Because you wanted to leave." Jack's eyes softened. "We don't stop anyone who wants to leave." Patrick sat still for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "There was a man, a sports organizer named Tom. He tried to stop me. I knocked him out. I didn't want to hurt him." Jack nodded. "You didn't." "I've already spoken to him on the phone. He's fine." Patrick looked up sharply. "You spoke to him? From here?" Jack smiled. "We have communication lines everywhere." Patrick swallowed. "Then tell me, what is Terra Vista City? What's really going on there?" Jack's expression changed, thoughtful, cautious. "How much do you remember?" Patrick hesitated. "Bits and pieces. I worked in a helicopter factory once. In London. But this isn't London, is it?" Jack shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "It isn't." Patrick sat across from Jack, his hands shaking slightly. "I remember something," he began slowly. "Before all this." Jack waited, watching him carefully. I lost my job," Patrick said. "The factory closed. I worked with helicopters, Bell 214s. Then, suddenly, I was unemployed. For a long time. I remember the cold, the noise, people shouting in the streets." He paused. "Then one day I saw an advert. In the newspaper. It said, he frowned, trying to remember the words, a 40-day holiday for the unemployed. Very cheap. Jack nodded quietly. I went. I thought it was just a break, somewhere sunny, somewhere quiet. I left London, got on a plane, and flew to Terra Vista City. His voice trembled. And after that, everything fades. I just remember waking up one day and calling it home. He looked up suddenly. But I haven't seen money in years. Nobody talks about money there. Jack smiled faintly. That's right. Terra Vista City is one of the oldest of the centers. It opened 9 years ago. Patrick blinked. 9 years. He whispered, so I haven't seen money for 9 years? Yes. Jack leaned forward, his tone calm, almost kind. 9 years ago, the world was falling apart. There were millions without jobs. Factories closed. Streets filled with anger, hunger, violence. People were desperate. Patrick nodded slowly. I remember the fighting. The governments met, Jack said. A secret meeting. They needed a solution that didn't involve war. So they built Terra Vista City and hundreds of others like it, all in warm, sunny places near the sea. Patrick stared at him. You mean, it wasn't a real city? It's real, Jack said softly, but not what you think. They sent the unemployed there, all of them. They promised a peaceful holiday, safety, food, comfort. They added small doses of drugs to the food to keep people calm. No hunger. No sadness. No anger. Patrick's eyes darkened. No memory, he whispered. Jack nodded. And no children. The drugs stopped that too. Patrick's breath caught in his throat. That's terrible. Jack looked at him with tired eyes. Is it? Before Terra Vista, the world was chaos. People starving, killing, burning cities. Now, they smile. They sleep. They feel safe. Patrick shook his head slowly. They don't feel anything. For a moment, silence filled the small office. The sound of distant engines hummed through the thin walls. Then Patrick asked quietly, Are you going to send me back? Jack leaned back in his chair. You can choose. We can give you a drug. You'll wake up tomorrow in Terra Vista City, and you won't remember any of this. You'll have breakfast, go to your classes, sleep at 9, just like before. Patrick's voice was low. And if I don't take it? Jack looked at him steadily. Then you stay here. Or you go back to London. We'll find you work, but life will be hard. You'll struggle. You'll get hungry again. You'll feel pain again. Patrick gave a small, tired smile. But I'll be free. Jack nodded. Yes. You'll be free. Patrick looked out the window. The sky was gray. Beyond the airfield, he could see another helicopter lifting off, probably heading back to one of the valleys. Back to Terra Vista. He closed his eyes for a moment. He could almost hear Evelyn's voice, bright, empty, cheerful. Come on, Patrick, it's such a beautiful day. When he opened his eyes again, there were tears in them, but they were real. Jack said quietly, only 2 or 3% choose to leave every year. That's all. Most people stay. They're happy there. And about half of the ones who leave choose to go back. Patrick let out a small laugh. I don't believe that. Jack smiled. You will. Maybe next year. It's an easy life. Patrick stood up. His voice was steady now. No. Not for me. Jack raised an eyebrow. So, are you going back? Or staying here? Patrick looked out at the horizon, the gray clouds, the smoke, the sound of engines, the feeling of wind on his face. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't peaceful. But it was real. He turned to Jack, smiling faintly. I think, he said, I'll stay here.